everybody. We're back with part 2 of our travel fail stories. And today we're welcoming on Laura to tell us about her most recent travel fail, and very interested to hear about this story.
It's like us hearing like people's bad stories. We're like, tell us more.
Tell us.
Well, and all the listeners are tuning in being like, ooh, tell me more.
On the edge of their seat. Yes. All right, well, tell us, spill the tea here. What happened to you?
Sure. Okay, so thanks for having me on. And I've told this story a few times, and I feel like every time I tell it, it changes a little bit. So
I'll just
I get more excited when I tell it now that it's very much in the rear view mirror. But like a quick overview. So my best friend Kate and I, we book trips. We do girls trips every year, and so this year, obviously being a little bit different, we booked our trip in June for November, thinking like, no problem, COVID will be not a thing, we'll be totally fine to travel normally. We were very wrong. However, we still went. So the trip was planned. We were doing, our favorite country music band is Old Dominion. So we were booking a trip to go see Old Dominion. So our plan was 4 days in Vegas, and then 4 days in Southern California in San Clemente and in Laguna Beach, and then 2 days to finish off the trip in Palm Springs. Then we were going to fly home from Palm Springs. So that was the whole itinerary.
Sounds good so far.
Sounds great.
So far it was awesome. And honestly, it was awesome. The whole trip was amazing. I would do it again tomorrow, except for the last 48 hours of the trip. And that's where it gets juicy. But red flag number one. So prior to leaving in September, so we don't leave till November, I think it was November 4th we left. In September, I got an email from Air Canada saying that our itinerary had been changed. And so I was like, okay, that's interesting. Our flight time leaving Palm Springs on the Saturday morning had changed. So it moved from, I think it was 1 p.m. we were supposed to fly out. It's now 5:40 in the morning. And so we're like, oh no, that's terrible, because we plan on being at a concert the night before, probably having a few adult beverages, and 5:40 sounds terrible. So we called Air Canada, and they ended up fixing our travel time. They got us both in the same flight. It sounded like the situation had been solved. We're like, perfect, no problem. Thanks, Air Canada. Great. Yeah. We were very wrong. So that was red flag number one. So the trip was amazing. We did Vegas, we did Southern California. We had a ball. We saw all kinds of trips. We were feeling great. We were doing our rapid tests. We were all negative. Trip was amazing. And the beaches in California, of course, are always the most beautiful places in the world. So then on Friday morning, we are now in Palm Springs. And so we're supposed to be leaving Saturday morning. So it's Friday morning at this point. It's 24 hours prior to our check-in time. So we're like, okay, perfect. Let's go online and check ourselves in. We'll choose our seats, and then we'll go enjoy our day. We were going to hike the Bump and Grind mountain range in Palm Springs in 42-degree heat.
The what now?
It's called the Bump and Grind. I think the Bump and Grind Trail, and naturally, being from Sackville, I had to experience this, and it was so hard. It was so hard, but it was amazing. The view from the top was incredible. We had a panoramic view of downtown Palm Springs. It was awesome.
Right.
I recommend. Yes. So we go to check in, and we can't check in. We're like, oh, that's weird. So we tried again and tried again and tried again. So this is the 4 times trying to put in our booking reference, and it's not registering. So we're like, oh, that's really strange. So then we call Air Canada, because at this point we're a little bit panicked, and the wait time is like 3 hours. So we request a callback, and we're like, okay, let's go enjoy our day. The callback was supposed to be 4 hours after that. So we're like, we're not going to waste our day in our hotel room. Let's go hike. So we go do the bump and grind, and then we get our, of course, and we get and Palm Springs is amazing, by the way. I highly recommend. What a great spot. We get a call back while we're mid-hike from Air Canada. We're like, perfect. So we stop on the trail, and there's signs everywhere for like rattlesnakes and like mountain lions and whatever. So we're, it's quite busy, so we're not overly concerned, but we're standing there, and we love Palm Springs at this point. So prior to going into this call, we think, okay, number one, let's confirm that we have a flight home, and number two, let's see if we can use our one free change to come home on Sunday. We'll just stay one more day.
Push the boundaries.
Right. What's one more day in California? So then he confirms. First, he confirms, yes, you're on this flight. I can see it. I can see it right in front of me. I can see your reservation. All you'll have to do tomorrow when you go to the airport is go check in at the desk instead of using the manual kiosk. For whatever reason, your booking reference isn't working. And then the change fee was going to be like $1,000 a piece. So we were like, absolutely not. We're going home on Saturday.
Yeah.
So the dream was alive and well and then dead really fast. We go back to our hotel. At this point, we were supposed to be leaving at 9 a.m. on Saturday morning.
Right.
And so we go to our last Old Dominion concert in Palm Springs. It was a place called Rancho Mirage, great spot. We do the concert. We stay up way too late. We get 2 hours of sleep. And yeah, it was a terrible decision, but like we would do it again in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
And I should backtrack quickly and just say that the flight home is Air Canada operated by United. So it was one of those ones. It wasn't just Air Canada. So anyway, we spend the last night out. We're at the casino. We stay up too late. La 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 la. We go to the airport the next day. We have a rental car, so we drop our rental car off. We go to the desk as directed to be like, oh, here we are for our flight. Can you check us in? We couldn't check in online. And we get this, like, I remember the sound vividly. It was like, like denied.
And won the lottery?
Yeah. Yes. And I'm like, okay, can you try it again? Maybe try my passport. And Kate's with me too. We're both exhausted. Maybe try my passport. And he's like, no passport. Booking reference isn't there. You are not on this flight. And so panic doesn't set in for me just yet. And Kate is amazing at the logistical side of everything, like the booking, the planning, the Airbnb. She's amazing. She's the best person to travel with because I can just like show up and have fun, and she handles all the tough stuff. So we make a great travel team.
Right.
So I can feel her panicking a little bit, and our stomachs are starting to sink. And I don't know if my stomach's sinking from the alcoholic beverages the night before or the fact that I'm now stuck at Palm Springs. I can't really decide. So then he's like, and I mean, you know what it's like at the gate. It's busy. There's people everywhere. They're like, basically get out of my face. Like, well, I can't do anything for you. And it's United. So they are, and it's our bookings are through Air Canada. So they can't do anything. And the Air Canada desk doesn't open until noon. So anyway, we step aside and I'm like, okay, well, let's call Air Canada. We have to figure this out. We need to get home today. Like, need to get home. And so again, our wait time is 2 hours. So Kate's on the line, she's on hold for 2 hours, and I'm Googling different flight paths, different airlines. How can we get home? Are we going on WestJet? And mind you, the Palm Springs airport is like the size of my apartment. Like, it is not a big space at all. And there's people everywhere. So I think there were only 4 flights going to Canada that day. So like, we need to get on one of them. We just need to get to Canada. Let's get out of the US at this point.
Yeah.
Right.
Needless to say, we did not get home that day. So did not get home. So she's on the phone at this point with an Air Canada agent, and she's apologizing. The agent is as nice as she can be, but she can't find any paths for us. At one point, we're flying through Houston. Another point, we're flying through flying through Houston. We were flying through Denver at one point. There were multiple different flight paths that she could try to get us on. But our last flight from Toronto to Halifax, there's only 2 business seats left, and they won't put us in the business section. They will not do it. Like, this is ridiculous. Put us in there and get us home.
Yeah.
And this would have gotten us home either that day or Sunday, which at this point we're like, sure, we'll go home Sunday. Yeah. Needless to say, we did not make it home on Sunday. So it turns out there was a miscommunication between Air Canada and United. I think it stemmed back to the first change that they did in September when they had originally changed our flight. I think that's where the whole mishap happened. Right. If I were to make an educated guess.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So we spent a total of 5 hours on the phone with Air Canada.
Ugh.
We had about 8 different itineraries emailed to us, and we wanted to make sure we're on the same flight, of course, because at one point I was like, you know what, Kate, like, you go, I'll stay, like, let's just do this. We were like, no, we need to stick together at this point. It's been 14 days together.
Yeah.
So she found us a new flight. The new flight was Sunday. We left Palm Springs at 12 noon, flew to Vancouver, landed in Vancouver. We're overnight in Vancouver, had to stop in Calgary, then fly to Halifax. So we were supposed to be home 5 p.m. on Monday, Atlantic time. Right. Originally 9 p.m. Saturday. So we're now almost 20 or 48 hours into this. So
right.
It is awful. So we're running on 2 hours of sleep. This is where it gets kind of fun. We make lemons at 11. So it's now 1 p.m. We don't have a rental car. So we're trying to find a hotel. And for whatever reason, I forget what was happening in Palm Springs, but it was a really busy weekend. So everywhere was sold out. and the hotels are really expensive.
Right.
And as a side note, we met a lovely gentleman at the Palm Springs airport who offered his buddy's place. He's like, yeah, just go stay there. He won't care. We're like, that sounds very suspect. I don't think
Thank
so.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, but
Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a funny antidote. So we found a hotel. It was the Best Western Las Brillas, and it was beautiful for $430 Canadian a night.
Oh my
Nice.
God.
So we're like, whatever, let's book it. We're going to be reimbursed, we think,
Right.
because it's not on, it's an Air Canada thing.
Yeah.
So we book the hotel. We take the Uber to the hotel. It's beautiful. It's again 30 degrees. We're like, let's go down to the pool. We text our friend who works for Old Dominion. We're like, hey, any chance you can get into the concert tonight? Luckily, they were playing one more show. So we go to our 4th Old Dominion concert in 8 days. So we're officially super fan status at this point. Like, the band is creeped out by us. Like, come on, go home, girls.
They're like, the girls are here again. Just don't look at them directly.
Yeah, something. And we made it really quick. Oh, our flight got canceled. We don't know why we're here. And so Sunday happens. And again, we're not as tired on Sunday because we had a better night's sleep. We didn't have to be at the airport until, I guess it was 11. Our flight was at 1. So we're getting an Uber to the airport, and I still have a little panic in my stomach. I'm like,
Yeah, definitely.
please get us home. But we did. So we go to the gate, and it's like ding, ding, ding. So we were on the flight.
Sound, yeah.
Then get on the flight, and something technically was wrong, and we had to sit on the runway, I think, for a total of 2.5 hours.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
And you know what that's like. There's nothing
Yes.
worse than
No.
sitting on the runway.
No.
So long story short, we take off, we go to Vancouver, we land in Vancouver, it's pouring rain, and we could not Uber fast enough to our hotel, get Uber Eats. I think we got like warm soup and just like lay in our bed. And we were so exhausted and kind of hungover. And I had a really bad headache at this point. Like, oh, and I don't know if it's from just the stress and finally being in Canada or whatever. And Kate's cough had changed like a little bit. We're like, oh no, we're safe. We've partied for 14 days. We're totally fine.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So the next morning we leave Vancouver at 6 a.m. We stop in Calgary, I think, for 2 hours. We land in Halifax at 5 p.m. as promised. So my care is at the airport. We load our bags. We grabbed a couple of rapid tests at baggage claim, and then we headed home. And then I'm texting Kate, and I'm saying, okay, well, it's probably time to do these rapid tests. Are you ready? She's like, yeah, I'm totally ready. And even then, we're still thinking, like, because I'm fine, right? Like, I feel totally fine, and she feels fine, and she always gets this tough cough. And then we do our rapid tests, and immediately, within 5 seconds, it's like 2 lines, COVID positive. We're like, oh no. So after all that, we tested positive for COVID, and now we are in isolation for 10 days.
Oh.
Oh my God. So you didn't have to test though when you flew from Palm Springs to Vancouver?
No, so this is a good note, actually. So I think the rules have since changed, but we did our PCR tests in Southern California on the Wednesday or Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
And because we had a flight delay that was not our fault, it was the airline's fault, they accepted our negative test result from like the original time in which we did it. So that's 72 hours prior. So they still honored that. Yeah.
Right.
But I do think it has changed. I think you have to test now within 24 hours before.
Okay.
Yeah.
And was Kate ill with
So
COVID?
we very much so. Yeah, we were both very positive. And her parents are amazing, and they live 5 minutes down the street, and so they dropped off meals for us every day. It was the whole thing. We lost our sense of smell and taste, and I was in bed for 3 days. We had the Delta variant, so it was a tough go. I mean, worth it, but it was a tough go for a couple of days. Oh, totally. Yeah, I would do it again in a heartbeat. And
Okay.
superhuman antibodies.
Yeah.
That is true.
But enter isolation. So we're in isolation now, and we sleep it off, and it's almost a joke at this point. It's like I've been gone for a month. I'm shocked my boss is not like, where are you? Please get back to work. But the good news is that because we were in isolation, we had a lot of time to figure it out, like to figure out what happened and how we can be reimbursed and compensated. And I wanted to share this with both of you because I had no idea. So it turns out with Air Canada, if you're delayed 3 to 6 hours, you are entitled to $400. 6 to 9 hours is $700, and then anything over 9 hours is $1,000.
Yeah.
So Kate curated this beautiful email to the Air Canada agents or the reps that we were working with, basically outlining exactly what happened. And then they came back to her and they were like, here's $450. And they came back to me, here's $1,000. We were like, well, that doesn't make any sense.
No.
So important to note that you don't have to accept the first offer. So she wrote back like, I was traveling with, like, this is my travel companion. This is what she was offered. This is what I would like. So they ended up offering that to her as well. And then we were compensated for all of the receipts, so the food and the Ubers and the hotel. So save your receipts. And yeah, moral of the story, I would do it again in a heartbeat. It was worth every headache. It was a travel nightmare in the moment, but just, it felt so good to be on a plane.
Oh yeah. And I think those kind of tales though make the best stories. And like, you can look back at it, and the further it is in your rearview mirror, like you said, it becomes like a little bit more fun to tell because you're not living it.
Yes, exactly. And I mean, that's just it. In the moment, I mean, we were together, we were safe. Worst case scenario, we had a delayed flight, right? It was just one thing after the other, and then getting COVID on top of that. So there was a lot of risk with travel right now. So that's, I mean, like I said prior to recording, like, we're about to book another trip, and we're not scared at all. We're like, let's go, round 2.
Let's do this. I love a comedy of errors. I mean, that's what that was. But see, look, you made it onto the big time. You're on our podcast now. You're talking about it.
Well, when you had made that post, Megan, like travel stories, and I wrote back, and I mean, you and I both have a sarcastic sense of humor. And so I was like, how about this? And you're like, yes. But I
With
can't.
COVID on top of it, how could you go wrong? It's a great tale.
I know, it was a great tale. Anyway, that's it. So we're alive and well, and I highly recommend Vegas, Southern California, and Palm Springs right now. Great time.
Right. I love California, so I never made it to Palm Springs when I was there. So that's a great tip. Well, thank you so much. I mean, I'm glad you guys are both okay. And I know you guys are obviously great travel companions. So I'm glad that you had each other. And thank you so much for coming on to share your fail.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me. It was fun. I look forward to hearing everyone else's also fails. Hopefully they're bigger than
don't make any fails in Nashville. We don't want to have to do this again. Like, just I hope it goes incredibly smoothly for you.
You know, I'm gonna bring my laptop just in case.
Yeah.
Probably a good idea.
Thank you both.
Bye.
Have a good night.
Bye. We're back talking travel fails, and we're welcoming Melissa Burbridge to the show. Hey, Melissa.
Hey.
We're really excited to have you here. You are the host of Raise the Anchor, your own podcast, and the owner of Alize Creative Solutions. And you have a fun travel fail to share with us.
Yes, travel fails seem to follow me, but my most favorite memorable one is going to London accidentally.
Yeah. Okay. I love this already.
So I was dating a guy for a while, and he lived half his year in Canada and half his year in Switzerland. He was in a band in Switzerland.
Ooh.
And so he went over a month before me, and he found another girl. So the night before I was supposed to go and meet with him to fly over, he was there. He broke up with me.
Nice.
So I could have canceled the whole trip, the whole 9 months I was supposed to be overseas, or I could go. And I decided to go and not let my parents know, because even though I was in my 20s and live on my own, I didn't want them to risk telling me, no, it's not safe. Because it was the same year of 9/11. So security was, yeah. So I didn't plan on going to London at all. I planned on landing in London, switching planes, and going straight to Switzerland. Well, I don't want to go to Switzerland. I don't want to see this guy.
Obviously.
This is back when our family only had one computer, so I couldn't even research what I was going to do. And we didn't have the big fancy cell phones that took pictures. Like, all of my pictures were taken on those like disposable cameras.
Right.
Because it was like, easier to carry those, get them done, and then ship them back home. So when you're back home, you can see all your pictures. So while I was at the airport, I had to go 5 hours early because of my mom's work schedule. I asked the girl, I'm like, okay, I don't want to go to Switzerland. Where can I fly to outside of London? I want to stay in London for a few days. She's like, okay, well, you can fly out to the Netherlands. That's the closest one. I'm like, okay, we'll do that. So I planned on staying in London for 2 weeks now, all of a sudden. Didn't research, didn't know anything about London except for the fact that the royal family lived there.
This story couldn't be any more like Jen, like to not have planned. She's sweating, like she's visibly sweating.
Yeah. So I get in London again, I said it's close to 9/11, so security was like ramped up. I had no place to stay because I didn't research this country. I researched Germany, Switzerland, and Italy because those are the 3 countries I planned on going. That's where my train pass, I had one of those Euro passes. Those are the 3 countries that I could go unlimitedly. So they're like, well, we can't let you leave. Like, you can't leave here. You need a place to stay. And I'm like, I don't know where to stay. So they gave me a list of hostels. So I narrowed a hostel down. I'm like, okay. They're like, oh, this hostel's not that far away. It's like 3 or 4 blocks. Well, I had just flown forever. I didn't want to walk it. I had no idea where it would have been anyway. So I decided to get into this big black fancy cab. Well, those big black fancy cabs cost a lot. Yeah. It was like 70 pounds for 3 blocks.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Needless to say, I only stayed in London for 3 days because I blew like over a month worth of my planned savings.
Wow.
In those 3 days. So I said, nope, can you bump up my trip to the Netherlands? I need out now.
I'm running out of dough here.
Yeah.
If I'm going to stay in this country for 9 months, I need to like be strategic with my money. So the rest of the trip went pretty good. I was able to like plan out the rest of the trip and going to Amsterdam and Paris and Spain, Austria, Switzerland, Germany, like all over Germany, all over Italy. I was going to do a little more planning, but I didn't strategically plan where to put all of my money when I was in Italy. Right. So I got this backpacker's trip to separate your money and to separate your plane ticket and your passport and your IDs. So I did that. So I had 3 packs, but I was in Venice and somebody raided our room when we were in the showers. So they got one of my bundles of money, which was probably the most money I had at that point. Because I was going to be backpacking the next day, I didn't want to have all of that cash right on my body. So that cut my trip short by 3 months.
Oh my God.
Yeah. But luckily I had theater behind me. So when I got back to London, I'm like, you need to let me go home.
You don't understand what I've been through.
So I was on standby for 3 days and I slept behind the security guard because he had the big machine gun. I knew nobody would come near me.
No.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Kudos to you for still going. Like, that is like super brave and impressive, especially in 2001 when everything seems scary. That's incredible.
Yeah, it was an amazing, amazing trip. I know I was shaking so much on my way to the airport. My mom's like, you're so excited. I'm like, I can't tell you why.
What did they say afterwards?
I was in Europe for 2 weeks before I told them.
Okay.
They kept asking, why aren't you in Switzerland yet? Why aren't you in Switzerland yet? I'm like, well, he kind of broke up with me.
I hope he has the day he deserves.
Oh, it was probably a way better trip than I would have had with him. I was smart. I wouldn't go out at night. I did go out at night 3 times. So in London, I went out with some Canadian girls because we flew over together. So I kind of built that relationship with them. And then in Italy, I met this guy who had a fiance back in the US. I wanted nothing to do with guys. He wanted nothing to do with girls, but everybody would harass you if you were by yourself. Right. So we pretended to be a couple for a good month.
Oh.
So it was nice because I had a friend to chat with the whole time.
Yeah.
I didn't get harassed and we got to go out at night and have fun. So yeah, there was some singing in Italy at night at Irish pubs. That was always fun. It was probably the best 9 months.
Oh my gosh, that is so funny. And I literally can't imagine I just can't imagine not having a plan because I'm an over planner and I'm trying really hard to not be an over planner. But the anxiety of going to the airport and being like, oh, I don't even have a place to stay when I land. It's
I couldn't even go on a road trip in Nova Scotia and not have somewhere to stay, let alone going to Europe. So kudos to you. I'm in awe of you. You're my hero.
I do like planning my trips, but that was one that was oh my God. Yes, taking it back now, I'm like praying to God my daughter doesn't do it. Like my son won't, he's too strategic. He has to plan for months, but I could see my daughter pulling something like that.
Yeah.
That'd be karma. That would be.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would. But I think the non-planning actually made the trip a lot better.
Yeah.
I've planned trips. We did a big trip from Nova Scotia down to Florida. We drove the whole way down. I planned that trip to like the very minute. So if there was like one small thing that went wrong, a lot of other things went wrong. So I like the freedom of just going, but it's a lot harder when you have other people to go with you.
Yeah, no, for sure. I used to be a chronic over planner, and it would give me a lot of anxiety as well. And I've somehow, and I think it's my husband, but I think I've come to sort of like plan some things, leave some room.
Yeah.
Like those are sort of, that's our mentality now. But I mean, I don't, I tease Jen, but I know, because it is, I've only recently reformed.
Yeah.
So I wasn't always a middle of the road girl, believe me. And I still have a few of like the panics moments. And then my husband's just like, you need to stop. And I'm like, oh, right. Okay. Like, so I totally get it, but that's really cool. And I'm so glad that you shared that, because people are going to be like, that Melissa girl can just head out and do her thing. So can I.
Well, I was in my early 20s, no kids, I had been taking a break from school. So there was like no responsibilities.
Yeah.
Just go explore the world before you have to hunker down and be responsible.
Yeah. Live your life.
I love that. I love that. I wish that I had done that.
It took a lot of guts. I won't lie. There was a lot of nights in Europe I was writing in my journal because I'm like, oh my God, what did I just do?
Right. But now you have all those amazing memories.
Yeah. I will say the safest I've ever felt in my life was in Germany, in Dusseldorf, Germany, because you could walk out at night and it was like the safest place. I used to go to the theaters at night and watch the English movies. It was so fun.
Oh, wow. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your travel fail with us, which in my mind is a victory.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it will be inspiration to other people. And thank you so much. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Melissa, do you want to take a minute to tell everybody where they can find you if they want to find more of your
If people want to find me, I am mostly on Instagram. I am on other platforms, but Instagram is where I have the most fun. All the other platforms seem to be work related. So I'm at Melissa M. Burbridge on Instagram.
Perfect. I will put that in the show notes. If you want to go follow her, she'll be there. And thanks for coming on, Melissa. Bye.
Thanks for having me.